The Infinity Gauntlet is one of the most powerful artifacts in the Marvel Universe, capable of doing pretty much anything as long as all 6 Infinity Stones are in place. Thanos is the most well-known villain who used the Gauntlet, but as we saw in Avengers Endgame, 2 heroes have used the Gauntlet as well. Even more characters wore it in the comics, so today, we're gonna let you in on every Marvel character who's worn the Infinity Gauntlet. Of course, we're going to kick things off by talking about the Mad Titan Thanos, the wielder of the first functional Infinity Gauntlet, both in the Infinity Gauntlet storyline in the comics and in the MCU. He was the first character to get his hands on the powerful artifact and collect all 6 Infinity Stones, or gems as they're called in the comics. Now, in the MCU, he wiped out half of all life in the universe to restore balance to the universe, but in the comics, he had a very different reason. It was to impress a chick, but not just any chick, no. The personification of death itself. Yeah, nothing will impress Lady Death like mass casualties, that's for sure. Thankfully, our heroes were able to stop Thanos both times and bring back everyone who was lost in the decimation. Another character who wore the Infinity Gauntlet in both the comics and the MCU is Iron Man. As you know by now, because we're sure you've seen Avengers Endgame, Tony Stark has made his own Infinity Gauntlet and snapped his fingers to get rid of Thanos and his army. But it cost him his life. He sacrificed himself to save the world, something Captain America never thought he'd do when they first met. In the comics, supervillain the Hood discovered the location of an Infinity Gem. The Avengers chase after him and eventually confront him in Avengers number 12. They try to reason with the Hood, but like every bad guy, he refuses. Iron Man then takes the gems from him and dons the Infinity Gauntlet, using it to send the Hood back to prison and destroy the Gauntlet, but it wasn't gone for good. The only other character who used the Infinity Gauntlet in the comics and the MCU is the Hulk. In Avengers Endgame, the Hulk actually puts the gauntlet on before Iron Man and snaps his fingers to bring back everyone who was lost in the decimation, severely hurting his arm in the process. In the Ultimate Marvel universe of the comics, there are 8 Infinity Gems instead of 6, and there are 2 Infinity Gauntlets. In the Ultimate Comics Ultimate number 25, S.H.I.E.L.D. had both gauntlets and 5 stones, but then Kang showed up. He released Bruce Banner from his cell, so the Ultimates would have to fight the Hulk with 2 Infinity Gauntlets. But luckily, with only 5 gems, it wasn't at full power, and they got the job done thanks to Tony Stark's sentient tumor. Yeah, that was actually a thing. While Nebula never wore the gauntlet in Avengers Endgame, she did wear it in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book storyline. In the comics, Thanos pretty much transforms her into a walking corpse and seems to enjoy her pain. What a nice guy. After he got rid of half of all life in the universe in Infinity Gauntlet number 5, Thanos goes on to take out the remaining cosmic entities as well. He then abandons his body and becomes one with the universe, until Nebula gets a hold of the gauntlet. She essentially stole Thanos' new power and undid all of his work. That sounds great, right? Wrong! She just does whatever she can to anger Thanos. Luckily, she was stopped by those cosmic entities she unknowingly resurrected. That scene in Endgame where she's holding the gauntlet for a few short seconds is an ode to this comic book event. While we never got to see Captain America wield the Infinity Gauntlet in the MCU, we did get to see him use Mjolnir against Thanos, which was pretty badass. In the comic books though, Captain America has worn the gauntlet before. In the comics, Captain America has become a member of the Illuminati. Yeah, you heard that right. Black Panther lets him know all of reality is slowly condensing, and if their Earth is touched, it'll become completely destroyed. It's pretty complicated comic book stuff. Anyway, being the heroes that they are, Cap and the gang assemble the Infinity Gauntlet and use it to stop all this madness. In New Avengers number 3, Captain America was chosen because, well, he's Captain America. No one has as strong a character as he does. The Gauntlet works at stopping these realities from being ruined, but Cap pushed it too hard and destroyed it in the process. That all led to the collapse of the multiverse, but before the collapse occurred, Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange learned that the Beyonders were responsible for it. Doom stole their powers and, using pieces from all the different Earths, created the battle world that he rules over. Strange didn't fully trust Doctor Doom, so he hid an Infinity Gauntlet in Battle World before getting killed by Doom. Yeah, he was right not to trust him. Anyway, in Secret Wars number 6, Black Panther and Namor discovered the Infinity Gauntlet. Black Panther then uses it to attack Doctor Doom during the final battle of Secret Wars number 9. After Doom is defeated, Black Panther uses the gauntlet to travel back in time to when he first discovered the incursions and prevents them from happening again. Hey, even Spider-Man got to wield the Infinity Gauntlet at one point. Avengers and the Infinity Gauntlet retold the original Infinity Gauntlet story, but in a shorter, funnier, and more kid-friendly way. In this storyline, Thanos doesn't kill half of all life in the universe. Instead, he simply makes half of it disappear, and a group of Earth's heroes, including Spider-Man, Wolverine, Ms. Marvel, and the Hulk, head out to space to stop him. Our heroes struggle against Thanos until a Doom bot shows up and separates the gauntlet from Thanos, but is unable to use it. Thanos tries to get it back, but Spider-Man grabs a hold of it, puts it on, and wishes that Thanos had never possessed it. It works, but Spider-Man winds up back on Earth with none of the other heroes aware of the fact that he just saved the world. Aw, Pete, that's a shame. One of Spider-Man's most popular villains is Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin. Norman did plenty of damage without any cosmic powers during the Dark Reign comic book storyline. So just imagine what he could have done with the Infinity Gauntlet. Well, in the What If Infinity Dark Reign comic, we learned exactly how that would have gone. Like most of these What If comics, it doesn't go exactly as Norman planned. While he achieved every goal he dreamed of by using the Infinity Gauntlet to torture Spider-Man for the rest of eternity, at the end of the day, he's undone by his need for his father's approval. Sometimes, even if you have everything, you have nothing at all, which is exactly the lesson Green Goblin learned the hard way. Earlier we mentioned the Illuminati. It's a secret organization that was formed by Iron Man, consisting of Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, Namor, Doctor Strange, Professor X, and Black Bolt. Their goal is to prevent major catastrophes before they occur, unlike what the real-life Illuminati does, if they even exist. In New Avengers Illuminati number 2, Reed Richards decided that the Infinity Gauntlet was too powerful and that it should be destroyed before it's used against them. He got the gauntlet and 3 of the gems by himself, but needed help to get the rest. He essentially opened up a time flux to get the final 3 gems, and then equips the gauntlet, tries to get rid of all the gems, but can't. Instead, each member of the Illuminati decided to take care of a gem so they'd stay separate. For a short while, Dr. Doom and the Fantastic Four were actually working together. It's hard to believe, but it's true. In Fantastic Four number 14, Doom sacrificed himself to hold off a celestial attack long enough for reinforcements to come in and save the Earth. It looked like he was done for, but in the comics, no one stays dead for long, and he was back in Fantastic Four number 16. Really? Only 2 issues? Doom wakes up in the rubble of the International Council of Reed, discovers 2 Infinity Gauntlets from alternate realities, and puts them on. He then discovers a collection of captured Dr. Dooms from multiple realities and decides, you know what? Let me make my own Parliament of Doom by using the gauntlets and working with these other Dooms. Sounds like a great plan. While Adam Warlock has only been hinted at the MCU, he's a major player in the Marvel Comics. When Nebula battled with those cosmic entities we mentioned earlier in Infinity Gauntlet number 6, Adam Warlock was one of them, and he transferred himself into the Soul Gem, using his power to reach out to other gems and make things difficult for Nebula. While she eventually lost the gauntlet, Warlock took it for himself and wished for unlimited power while also undoing all the damage Nebula and Thanos caused. He held onto the gauntlet until the Living Tribunal said he wasn't fit for all that power. So he then dispersed the stones in Warlock and the Infinity Watch number 2, forming the titular group alongside Gamora, Drax, Pip, and Moondragon, but his short time with the gauntlet would have had some serious consequences. The worlds of Marvel and DC Comics competed against each other in the JLA and Avengers, which meant important relics from each of the worlds were hidden across both of them. The Avengers were essentially put onto a scavenger hunt, and one of the items on their list was, of course, the Infinity Gauntlet. As the Avengers try to find the Infinity Gauntlet, they learn that it wound up in Darkseid's possession on Apocalypse. Darkseid would love to conquer the universe, and it's just pure evil. So this is a terrible coincidence. Luckily, the gauntlet is useless in the DC universe, so it was more of a fancy glove than anything. When Warlock held the gauntlet, he made himself a being of pure logic, splitting the good and evil parts of his soul into Goddess and Magus respectively. During this time, Eternity decides to make it impossible to use the Infinity Gems together, making the gauntlet useless. Magus gets a hold of this power gauntlet in Infinity War number 5, and Galactus forces Eternity to reactivate the Infinity Gauntlet. Magus seemed to have obtained omnipotence, but Thanos replaced the reality gem with a fake one, meaning he didn't have full control over the gauntlet. Magus is then defeated and placed into the Soul Gem, which left Adam Warlock in a coma, but he was quickly revived by Eternity. Just like the Avengers and the Infinity Gauntlet comic book storyline, the Superhero Squad show was funny and aimed at a younger audience. In the Season 1 finale, this Al Dante Earth, Iron Man bestows the Surfer with the Infinity Sword, and it's later revealed that the sword corrupted the Silver Surfer, turning him into the Dark Surfer. When Thanos eventually assembled the Infinity Gauntlet like he always does, in the episode Fate of Destiny, the Dark Surfer betrays our heroes and took the gauntlet for himself, using it to scatter the heroes across dimensions, pushing Earth out of its orbit. Of course, our heroes eventually regroup and defeat the Surfer, returning the Earth to its proper orbit and getting rid of the evil inside him. Even the Avengers need pets, and in Lockjaw and the Pet Avengers number 4, Lockjaw, the Inhumans' dog, discovers the Mind Gem on the moon near the Inhumans' home of Atilian. Being around it makes Lockjaw smarter, and using his newfound smarts, he recruits a bunch of other superpowered animals like Throg, Redwing, Lockheed, Zabu, and Hairball to help him gather all of the Infinity Gems. Of course, Thanos tries to ruin everything and attacks the animals, but Throg created a makeshift Infinity Gauntlet out of Lockjaw's collar, granting the dog the full power of the gems. Believe it or not, they end up defeating Thanos and turn the gems over to a very confused Reed Richards. "That's a good boy. Who returned the Infinity Gauntlet? You did, good boy." The final entry is going to really surprise you. It turns out that in the Marvel Universe, Santa Claus is real. In the Marvel Holiday Spectacular 2009, Iron Man gets the Illuminati together because he suspects all of Santa's reindeer to be Skrulls. He wants to borrow the Infinity Gauntlet so he can use it to deliver all the toys in one night. But this is a device Thanos used to get rid of half of all life in the universe, so they obviously gave it to Santa, no questions asked. Of course, Santa goes crazy with all his power and is only stopped by Namor when he uses his Atlantean strength to hit Santa with a snowball that somehow knocked the gauntlet off. And that's every single Marvel character who's worn the Infinity Gauntlet in the MCU or the comics. Are there any you may have missed? Are you still mourning the loss of Iron Man in the MCU? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more MCU videos. Thanks for watching.